worse.
You're gonna be okay. I'm here for you.
I saw what is waiting for many believers in 2026 if they do not change. My name is Sarah Whitmore. I'm 46 years old, born and raised in a quiet town in Vermont. Most people who know me would probably say I lived a simple life. Nothing dramatic, nothing unusual, nothing that would make anyone think I would one day speak about the afterlife. I'm not a preacher. I'm not a prophet. I'm not someone who ever imagined God would show me anything beyond my ordinary life. I worked a small office job, lived alone after losing my husband years ago, and spent most evenings quietly reading, praying when I could, and trying to make sense of a life that often felt heavier than I admitted. For months before the accident, I felt something I couldn't explain, a stirring, a heaviness in my chest, an unexplainable sense that something was coming not just for me, but for many Christians. I ignored it. I pushed it away. I told myself it was stress, age, or grief. But now, after what I saw, I understand it was a warning I didn't take seriously until the night my life changed forever. It happened on a quiet Tuesday night, a night I had no reason to fear. I was driving home from visiting a friend, taking the same familiar highway I'd driven for years. The rain had been light, just enough to paint the road with a silver shine. The world felt calm, almost too calm. I remember tapping the steering wheel softly, thinking about the strange heaviness that had followed me for weeks. I whispered a simple prayer as I drove. Lord, please guide me. I don't know what's happening to me. Those were the last words I said before everything changed. I saw headlights bright, violent, and too close. A truck drifted into my lane, its tires screeching on the wet pavement. There was no time to brake, no time to turn, no time to think. Just one blinding impact. Metal crushed inward like paper. Glass exploded around me like stars shattering. My ears rang with a violent, deafening silence. And then, everything stopped. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in the middle of the highway, not inside my car, not inside my body. My crushed vehicle sat twisted against the guardrail. The front of it looked unrecognizable. Smoke rising from the engine. Sparks flickering under the hood. Rain fell through me, not on me. That's when the realization hit me with a coldness deeper than the night air. I'm dead. I'm really dead. I watched my body slumped against the seat, motionless, blood trailing down my forehead. 2 cars stopped. Someone screamed. A man rushed toward the wreck, shouting for someone to call 911. But no matter how loudly I cried for help, no one heard me. No one saw me. I reached for the car door and my hand passed straight through it. I wasn't alive. And as I stood there, frozen in horror, a sudden darkness opened beneath my feet. A pull, a force, a gravity I couldn't resist. The air changed. The temperature dropped. A sound rose from below. A sound I will never forget. Screams. Thousands of them. My breath trembled as the ground split open wider, revealing a depth of pure darkness. I tried to run. I tried to grab something. But my feet lifted off the ground as if invisible chains were pulling me down. I was being dragged toward hell. And no one could save me. Not on earth. The darkness swallowed me before I even understood what was happening. One moment I was on the highway. The next, I was being dragged through a tunnel of pure blackness. No walls. No ground. No sky. Just falling. My body, or whatever I was now, felt weightless, like a feather caught in a storm. But the deeper I went, the heavier the atmosphere became. Thick, hot, suffocating. And then I heard it. At first, it sounded like distant echoes, like people crying far below me. But the deeper I fell, the louder it became. Thousands of voices, screaming, begging, cursing, wailing in pain so deep it didn't sound human anymore. The sound pierced me, shaking something inside my soul that I didn't even know existed. I tried to look around, tried to see where I was going. But the darkness wasn't empty. It was alive. It pulsed. It breathed. It watched. Then, far below, faint red cracks appeared, as if the darkness itself was splitting open. The heat rising from those cracks was unbearable. It wasn't like fire on earth. It felt intelligent, as if it knew I was coming. The deeper I sank, the more terrifying realization grew inside me. I'm not being shown hell. I'm being taken to hell. My heart, or whatever remained of it, felt like it was screaming. A voice in the darkness whispered my name. Not gently, not lovingly, but with a mocking hunger. Sarah. It felt as though invisible hands were grabbing at me, pulling, clawing, dragging me downward. I tried to pray, but no sound came out. My voice didn't exist here. My body didn't exist here. My breath didn't exist here. Only fear. And then, I saw the gate. Massive, black, twisted, alive. It opened slightly as I approached, releasing a wave of heat and agony so overwhelming I thought my soul would shatter. Something inside me broke. I screamed not with my mouth, but with my entire being. God, please. Not here. Not this place. My cry echoed through the darkness like a spark. Just when I crossed the threshold, right when the darkness was about to swallow me whole, a blinding burst of light exploded above me. Warm, pure, powerful, like the sun crashing into the pit. Something grabbed my arm. Firm, strong, overwhelming. And for the first time since the accident, I felt hope. The light that burst into the darkness was unlike anything I had ever experienced. It didn't shine the way earthly light shines. It pushed, it moved, it tore through the darkness as if darkness was nothing more than thin cloth. I felt its warmth before I saw its source. One moment, I was being dragged downward by invisible chains, and the next, the pull of hell loosened, as if the darkness itself was afraid of what was coming. My vision struggled to adjust. The brightness was so overwhelming that I had to shield my face, even though I no longer had a physical body. Slowly, the light condensed, shaping itself into a figure tall, radiant, calm. The closer he came, the more the screams from below began to fade. The heat retreated. The darkness trembled. And then I saw him clearly. He wasn't like the angels on paintings. He didn't have soft wings or delicate features. He looked powerful, terrifyingly powerful, yet filled with a peace that made my soul want to collapse into him. His entire being glowed, not with color, but with purity. A purity that felt like truth, like justice, like mercy, all woven together. He extended a hand to me, not hurried, not panicked, but certain as if he knew that nothing in hell had the right to keep me. Sarah, he said. His voice, warm and deep, reverberated inside me. It wasn't sound, it was understanding. My spirit heard him the way the heart hears grief, the way the soul hears truth. I reached for him, and the moment our hands touched, a surge of strength rushed through me. The chains that had wrapped around my legs and torso snapped like thin strands of thread. The darkness below recoiled, pulling back as though it feared the angel's presence. He pulled me upward, and the further we rose from the pit, the more aware I became of how close I had come to entering a place I had always believed was impossible for someone like me. A Christian, a believer, someone who prayed, even if inconsistently, someone who thought she was safe. As we rose into the brighter realm above, I felt shame creeping into me. Why was I there? Why was hell able to pull me at all? Hadn't I believed in God? Hadn't I tried to do my best? Wasn't faith enough? The angel must have sensed my questions because he spoke before I could ask. You were not taken toward hell because God rejected you. You were shown what many will experience in 2026, if they do not change. His words hit me harder than the collision that took my life. Many, I whispered. He nodded. And the gentleness in that gesture shook me more than his power. Many who call themselves believers. Many who speak God's name. Many who attend churches. Many who look righteous on the outside but are asleep on the inside. I felt a coldness inside me, not from hell, but from the truth. Why me? I asked. Why would God show this to me? The angel turned, and suddenly we stood on what felt like a platform of light hovering between the abyss below and a vast horizon above. I could see both darkness and brilliance, side by side. His eyes, if they could be called eyes, held something sorrowful. Not anger, not frustration, but sorrow, as if he carried the weight of millions of souls. Because your generation has grown comfortable, and comfort blinds. God chose you because you had been asking for direction, yet ignoring the urgency in your spirit. You were drifting, Sarah, like many. And God wanted to awaken you before the darkness could claim you. Tears formed in me, tears without water. Tears that felt made of regret and realization. He continued. But what I am about to show you is not for you alone. It is for the church. For every believer who has chosen convenience over commitment, emotion over obedience, religion over relationship. Sarah, the warning is not punishment. It is mercy. But time is no longer waiting. My soul trembled. Then he extended his hand again. Come. You must see what awaits many in 2026, unless they return to God with their whole hearts. And with that, the angel lifted me into the first of the visions that would forever change my life, and the lives of all who hear this testimony. The angel lifted his hand, and instantly the bright horizon ahead of us split open like a curtain of light tearing down the middle. I felt something pull me forward, not harshly, but with divine intent. The air changed again, and we were no longer hovering between realms. We were standing in what looked like a church, but not any church I remembered. At first glance, everything seemed normal. Rows of chairs, soft lights, a worship team tuning their instruments, people smiling, laughing, greeting one another. But something felt wrong, deeply wrong. The angel stood beside me silently, watching. I looked around, trying to understand what I was seeing. As the music began, the congregation lifted their hands, but their faces were empty. Their eyes were unfocused, unfixed. Their lips moved, but their hearts were silent. Their worship wasn't rising. Their voices sounded like echoes trapped inside a hollow room. Some people were scrolling through their phones while singing. Some were whispering to one another about weekend plans. Others were standing still, arms crossed, waiting for the song to end. I turned to the angel, confused. Is this a church? I asked. His voice was heavy when he answered. This is what many churches will become in 2026. Suddenly, my vision sharpened. It was as if the veil over the people lifted, and I could finally see the truth behind their bodies. Where each person stood, I no longer saw their outward appearance. I saw their hearts. Some glowed faintly, flickering like dying candles. Some were dim, covered in ash-like layers of distraction and spiritual laziness. Some were completely dark, though their mouths sang louder than everyone else's. And the saddest ones were the people who believed they were on fire for God. They jumped, they shouted, they clapped, but their hearts were ice. The sound of their worship hit the ceiling and fell back to the ground like dead weight. Why are they like this? I whispered. The angel turned to me, his expression sorrowful. Because they no longer seek the God of the altar. They seek the feeling the altar gives. His words pierced me. He continued. Many believers in 2026 will worship to feel emotional comfort, not to commune with God. They will attend church for habit, not hunger. They will raise their hands without raising their hearts. As he spoke, the band switched songs. The atmosphere changed not because of the Spirit, but because the beat was more exciting. People laughed, danced, shouted. But again, I saw their hearts. Still dim, still dying. Some were completely asleep inside their own spirits. Why aren't they awake? I asked. The angel lifted his hand, and suddenly I could see what was happening in the invisible realm. Dozens of demons walked between the people, small, whispering creatures that clung to shoulders, hands, and backs. They whispered lies into the ears of believers. Just relax. You're tired. You prayed yesterday. You're not as bad as the others. No need to repent, God understands. You can scroll, no one sees. You don't need to worship deeply. It's just a song. And the people obeyed. Not knowingly, but willingly. The angel said, lukewarmness will destroy more Christians in 2026 than witchcraft or persecution. I felt my soul tremble. The worship leader spoke into the microphone, trying to stir the room, but I saw what he couldn't see. Every time he lifted his hands toward heaven, a heavy fog descended over the congregation, pulling them deeper into spiritual sleep. Some tried to pray, but their hearts were too distracted. Their minds wandered. Their spirits were muffled. Will they stay like this? I asked, tears forming again. The angel's answer was both hope and warning. They do not have to, but many will. Unless they turn back to God with sincerity, 2026 will expose their emptiness. Then he touched my shoulder gently. Come, Sarah. There is more you must see. And just like that, the vision shifted again. The church scene dissolved like mist fading in sunlight. The angel placed his hand lightly on my arm, and immediately the air thickened again, this time with a heaviness I felt deep inside my spirit. A new vision formed around us. We were standing in the middle of what looked like a neighborhood street at dusk. The houses looked normal, peaceful, quiet. But the angel's expression grew heavier, as though he was about to show me something that grieved him deeply. He lifted his hand toward one of the homes. Instantly the walls turned transparent, and I could see inside. A married Christian couple stood in their living room arguing. not yelling at first, but speaking through clenched teeth. Every sentence carried bitterness. Every word was a sharp blade. The husband paced back and forth, hands shaking with frustration. The wife stood near the window, arms crossed tightly, her face hardened by months, maybe years of unresolved hurt. Their mouths moved, but I could no longer hear their human voices. I heard their hearts instead, full of resentment, accusations, defensiveness, and silent wounds that were never healed. Beside each of them stood a demon. Small, shadowy creatures with sly grins. One whispered into the man's ear, "She doesn't respect you. You deserve better." Another whispered into the woman's mind, "He doesn't love you. He will never change." The more they listened, the more their faces twisted with anger and pain. "Why are they allowing this?" I whispered. The angel looked at me, sorrow filling his voice. "Because they have stopped praying together. Where prayer is absent, the enemy is present." His words hit me like a blow. Another home appeared beside the first, another Christian marriage. This time, the couple sat at a dining table, each staring into their phone. Not speaking, not arguing, just silent, disconnected. Their hearts were miles apart, even though their bodies sat only inches from each other. The angel said, "This is the quiet death of many marriages in 2026. Distraction, neglect, and emotional distance." The scene shifted again. Now I saw a bedroom where a man lay on one side of the bed scrolling through his phone while his wife wept quietly with her back turned. He didn't notice. He didn't turn. He didn't care enough to. A demon sat between them like a wall. "They no longer fight for each other," the angel said, "so darkness fights for them." He lifted his hand again, and suddenly dozens, then hundreds of homes appeared around us, like a vast map of broken Christian families. In many homes, unforgiveness sat like a throne. In others, pride built barriers that prayer could no longer reach. In some, adultery crept like a silent shadow into the night. I saw text messages filled with flirtation, secret chats, emotional affairs. Christians who had convinced themselves it was harmless, because nothing physical happened. The angel's face grew stern. Many marriages in 2026 will fall, not because of infidelity alone, but because of small compromises that opened large doors. Then he showed me a particularly heartbreaking scene. A couple who once prayed together every night now slept, facing opposite directions, separated by a thick spiritual darkness hovering over their bed. They stopped praying. The angel said softly, "When prayer dies, marriage dies." Tears streamed inside me. "Is there hope for them?" I asked. The angel nodded. "Yes, but only for those who choose humility. Pride destroys love. Unforgiveness poisons the soul. And the enemy has marked Christian marriages in 2026 because he knows that when a home falls, generations fall." His voice deepened with urgency. "Tell them to forgive. Tell them to return to prayer. Tell them to guard their homes. Tell them to close the doors they opened with anger, silence, and secret sin." The vision began to fade, and with it, the sound of countless breaking hearts. "Come, Sarah," the angel said gently. "There is still more you must see." The angel placed his hand on my shoulder again, and the world around us shifted with a ripple of light. The broken homes, the arguing couples, the shadowed rooms, everything dissolved like smoke in the wind. I took a deep breath, bracing myself, though I didn't know what I was bracing for. When the light settled, I found myself standing inside a colossal hall, vast beyond the limits of sight. The ceiling stretched upward like the sky, shimmering with a soft golden radiance. Endless rows of shelves towered over me, each one glowing with a faint warmth. It felt like stepping into a mixture of a library, a throne room, and eternity itself. "What is this place?" I whispered, overwhelmed. The angel's voice was solemn. "This is the Hall of Destinies. Every life has a scroll. Every scroll holds God's intention." He stepped forward, and as he did, the closest shelves brightened. My eyes widened. Each shelf was filled with scrolls, beautiful, luminous scrolls with names written in heavenly symbols. Some glowed beautifully, others flickered weakly, and many more had grown dim and dusty. My heart tightened. The angel pointed toward a cluster of shelves. "These are the destinies marked for 2026. The year glowed above them like burning gold. I walked closer, drawn by something deep inside me. When I touched one scroll, images flashed before me, callings, opportunities, assignments, open doors, breakthroughs, ministries, reconciliations, inventions, businesses, prayers answered. If only the person was willing to obey. I gasped and pulled my hand away. The angel spoke again, his tone heavy. So many destinies are prepared for 2026. Yet many will never walk in them. Why? I asked, my voice trembling. Why would someone miss what God planned for them? The angel waved his hand, and suddenly several scrolls lifted from the shelves, unfolding themselves in midair. The glowing words faded, turning dark, then cracking like old parchment. Some will miss their destinies because of fear, some because of laziness, some because of compromise, some because they chose comfort instead of courage, and many because they never believed they were called at all. I stared as the scrolls dimmed. The loss felt so real, as though someone's entire reason for being alive had been wasted. One scroll in particular caught my eye. Its glow flickered weakly, as if fighting to stay lit. I felt drawn to it. The angel gently lifted it and opened it before me. Inside, the heavenly script formed a life story full of power miracles, souls touched, assignments completed, broken families restored, a life poured out in service and love. But suddenly, the scroll stopped halfway. The rest of the pages were blank. The angel said softly, "This one stopped believing God could use them. They prayed for purpose but never obeyed when purpose called." Tears filled my spirit. How many people will be like this in 2026? I asked. His reply pierced me. More than half of those who call themselves believers. I stepped back, overwhelmed. The angel continued, 2026 is a year of great opportunity. Heaven has prepared much. But destiny requires obedience. God cannot complete what his people refuse to begin. He touched another stack of scrolls, and instantly they lit up with powerful brilliance. These, he said, belong to those who are ready, those who will walk boldly, those who repent, those who seek God sincerely. The glow from these scrolls was breathtaking like living fire. But these, the angel motioned to the dim ones, belong to those who will waste the year in distraction and delay. A holy fear gripped me. What should I tell them? I asked. He looked at me with eyes like storms and mercy at the same time. Tell them God has not forgotten their calling. Tell them the scrolls are still waiting. Tell them the time is now. And tell them the longer they delay, the dimmer their destiny becomes. The scrolls returned to the shelves, and the great hall of destinies began to fade. Come, Sarah, the angel said. There is yet more you must see. The hall of destinies faded into a swirl of gold and white, and before I could take another breath, the atmosphere shifted again. The angel and I stood in what looked like a vast marketplace, bright lights, colorful signs, people moving quickly, laughter, noise. It felt like the world I once knew. But the angel's face grew stern, and that alone told me something was wrong. Watch closely, he said. As he lifted his hand, the appearance of the people changed. Their physical bodies faded, revealing their spiritual condition. Many walked around with heavy weights tied to their ankles, debts, stress, anxiety, greed. Others carried bags filled with vanity and impulsive desires. Some stumbled under loads of unpaid bills and irresponsible spending patterns they blamed on demons but created themselves. Why are they like this? I asked. The angel answered with a sorrowful calm. Because many Christians in 2026 will suffer financially, not because the enemy attacked them, but because they lack discipline, wisdom, and obedience. He pointed at one man carrying a heavy chain labeled impulse. Another carried sacks labeled pride, comparison, borrowing, waste. These burdens, the angel said, are self-made. I watched as doors of opportunity opened before some people, glowing doors, radiant and inviting. But instead of walking through, many turned away because the doors required sacrifice, patience, or humility. God prepared elevations for them. The angel said softly, but they chose comfort. They chose excuses. They chose delay. The marketplace dissolved. Suddenly, we stood on a dimly lit road. It stretched endlessly into the distance, and along it, I saw what looked like faint silhouettes, people walking slowly, unaware of what was ahead. The angel's expression changed again, this time into deep sorrow. Watch, he whispered. A bright light appeared at the far end of the road, then vanished. One silhouette fell, another disappeared, another collapsed without warning. I felt an icy chill in my spirit. These are believers, the angel said. Many will not finish 2026. My voice cracked. Why? Don't they love God? They do, the angel answered. But they live as though they have endless time. They postpone repentance. They postpone obedience. They say one day, but their one day never comes. I watched as some people were pulled upward into brilliant light, while others were swallowed into darkness despite crying out in shock. I wasn't ready. I thought I had more time, Lord. I was going to change. Their cries echoed like thunder through the realm. My soul trembled. I couldn't hold back the tears. Angel, why are you showing me all this? He turned to me with eyes that held both fire and gentle mercy. Because time is short, Sarah. And the church has fallen asleep. Many are living in convenience and calling it Christianity. Many confess Christ but deny him with their choices, their habits, their private sins. The visions faded, and suddenly we were standing in pure white light, no shadows, no noise, just a deep, overwhelming presence of truth. Tell them, Sarah, the angel said, stepping closer. Tell them to return to prayer. Tell them to return to holiness. Tell them to repent of what they call small sins. Tell them to forgive. Tell them to guard their homes. Tell them to obey the calling on their lives. Tell them to wake up. His voice deepened with urgency. 2026 will reveal who truly belongs to the Lord. Before I could respond, the light grew brighter, so bright I felt myself dissolving into it. A force pulled me backward rapidly, like being swept through a tunnel. The visions vanished. The angel's presence faded. Suddenly, I gasped. My eyes shot open. I was lying in a hospital bed, machines beeping around me. A nurse shouted for a doctor. I had come back. But I didn't come back the same. I came back with a message. Warn them. Tell them what you saw. Tell them before it is too late.